Welcome again everybody to my garden. Afore last Wednesday there hadn't been only rain for about 4 or 5 weeks, but last week there was rain and it's fairly brought on the plants. This is where we planted tatties 3 weeks ago, and as you can see the tatty shaws have stuck their heads up in the soil. What's happening here is there's a mammy tatty down there and it's pushed its way up through 6 inches of soil and now is growing nice, and the wains will shin be here. As you've seen, we planted the mammy tatties along the drill there, but you'll no see the wains. You'll no see the baby tatties for about 4 or 5 months. That's how long they'll take to mature, and that's how long it will take for you to be able to eat them. Now, most people haven't seen anything like this. Most people have never grown tatties. They don't know about tatties. The only time they've ever come in contact with tatties is buying them off the supermarket shelves, or eating crisps or eating chips. Now, if you're a beginner and you're just starting to grow tatties, I'm going to try and explain to you today how tatties grow. Now, as I said, if you're a beginner and this is the first time you've grown tatties, I'll try and explain to you what's happening here. Now, 3 weeks ago we took this flower pot here, 12 inches deep and 13 inches diameter, and we put 4 inches of soil in the bottom. Now, I've drawn this diagram to show you, try and explain to you exactly what's happening here. Here's the 4 inch, this is the pot here, right? That's the outline of the pot. Here is the 4 inches of soil in the bottom of here. That's what we've done. And then we placed a seed tatty on top of the 4 inches of soil. And then, as recommended in the instructions on the seed tatty packet, cover the seed tatty with another 6 inches of soil. No more than 6 inches. So that takes you up to here, right? That's 10 inches of soil, 4 inches there, 6 inches here. This level is this level here that we have here. Now, what has been happening in that 3 weeks is this mammy tatty, the seed tatty, has put down roots into the 4 inches of soil, and it's pushed a shaw up here to the green spot. This is here. Now, there is a shaw coming through the green spot, right? Now this shaw will continue to grow through the months and eventually have a flower in the top. During that time, these things will come off the main shaw. These things are called stolons. Stolons. And at the end of these stolons grow the tatties that you'll eat, the baby tatties. So how do you avoid your tatties becoming green? Well, when the shaws are about 3 inches above the rim of the flower pot, put in another couple of inches of soil just in the top there, and that will cut off the ultraviolet rays. And as long as you water your tatty, nature will just take its course. If you're ever in a quiz some night and you're asked that question, what is a stolon, you'll be able to answer it. By the way, look at this. I dug this up this morning. This is a tatty I planted last year and it started growing again. See how it works? That's the outside, but this is happening inside as well. And I've been told that that big giant tatty was very juicy and healthy and tasty by the film crew who consumed it. Well, I hope that helps you to understand what is going on in a pot like this and how tatties grow under the ground. Now, 2 weeks ago we transplanted some leeks and we planted some onion sets and shallot sets. Let's have a look and see how they're progressing. Now this is where we transplanted the leeks 2 weeks ago. You seen that in the last video, and it's getting a bit warm now, so I'm going to take off one of my shirts. Was it awfully cold and chilly this morning? Now, Elma is going to give me a wee horn to pull back. Ah, look at this. See that? This has been making its way under the netting. It's a snail. Now what am I going to do with it? I'll put it here now and deal with it after. Now, let's see what this looks like. Aye, well, fine. They're coming on nice. Now, leeks grow slowly. They don't grow in a spectacular manner. We planted these onion sets and shallot sets on the same day as we transplanted the leeks. So let's have a look and see how they're progressing. Well, these look really good. That rain I mentioned to you that came last week has really brought them on. Couldn't be any happier with these. Here is a tattie that shouldn't be here, left there for last year. But apart from that, it's looking really good. Now, we're no far away from my compost heap. This is the powerhouse of my garden. Apart from the sun, the rain and the air, this gives my vegetables all the nutrients they need. So let's go down and check this. I like to check it regularly. Well, here's my compost heap again. Now I've just got a couple of minutes to give you some tips on this. If you want to go into the science of decomposition with a bit more depth, there's plenty of videos on YouTube, half-hour videos, that can tell you a lot more than I'll tell you. Also, you can read chapters in gardening books. However, I'll tell you what I can tell you. Now, there's two types of compost heap. There's a cold compost heap and there's a hot compost heap. With a cold compost heap, if you just shove vegetation onto the heap and do nothing else, after about 3 or 4 years, it'll have turned into compost. The work is done by worms, slaters, slugs, snails. But if you want to get compost quicker, then you have, maybe after 6 months, then you have to get some heat into the compost heap. Because heat speeds up the chemical process which breaks down the cellular structure of the vegetation. That's what the purpose of the heat is. And the heat is provided by a different kind of creature. It's provided by microbes, very special microbes. And if you want these microbes in your compost heap, you've got to create a good habitat for them. You've got to create good conditions where they'll enjoy living, where they'll grow and reproduce. Apart from oxygen and water, these microbes need carbon and nitrogen. That's the two elements they need, carbon and nitrogen. Carbon for energy, they use carbon for energy, and they use nitrogen for growing and reproduction. When you feel the heat of your compost heap, what you're feeling is the heat from the bodies of billions and billions of microbes burning up the carbon. That's what the heat is. This has been bubbling away for about 3 weeks and it's starting to cool down. That's because the microbes have used up most of the nitrogen. So if you want more heat into your compost heap, you've got to provide it with more nitrogen so that they can grow and reproduce. Now, as far as the carbon and nitrogen mixture is concerned, you don't put carbon only on it. You don't put nitrogen only on it. You put on a mixture. And if you read gardening books, they'll give you the ratios of the mixture. But I've found that if you put on the same amount of brown stuff, carbon, and the same amount of green stuff, nitrogen, it's fine. It heats up fine. Some people obsess about exactly the right amount. It's not necessary. The sources of nitrogen, this is what I'm going to try and build up today. The sources of nitrogen are various. I'm going to put on comfrey leaves, very high in nitrogen. Coffee grounds, high in nitrogen. I'm going to put on pea, human urine, very high in nitrogen. Human urine, sterile, packed full of vitamins and minerals. You might turn your nose up at that, but if you get a gardening book, they always mention if you can get your hands in human urine, put it on your compost heap. It's great. I'll be putting on some carbon as well, straw and leaves. So let's go and get the stuff ready. Now here is a great source of nitrogen. This is Russian comfrey, which I cut this morning from the verge of our road. It's free. Now, this is how I do it, folks. I get my machete, which I used to use when I worked in Cuba on the sugar plantations, and I chop it up. Beautiful Russian comfrey. So now what I do is I put it on here. I'm just putting it over here and here because it's easier to transport out to the compost heap. Now I've got a selection here of brown stuff and green stuff. Brown stuff to provide the microbes with carbon, that's what we need for energy, and green stuff to provide the microbes with nitrogen for growing and reproduction. First of all, I'm going to make a kind of dent in this. Whoa, look at that. Woo! Right, I think that's fine. Let's feel this. It's starting to cool down. It's still quite warm, but it's not as warm as it was. I'm going to put on the comfrey. Come and get it, all you microbes. This is what you've been waiting for. Nitrogen. I'll put on some brown stuff now. A source of carbon. This is leaves. Leaves which Elma and I collected last autumn. Stick that on here. Come and get it. This is what you've been waiting for. I'm going to put on some more brown stuff, more carbon stuff. This is just straw and grass. Just grass and straw. But it's no green on me, it's brown. I'm going to put on some coffee grinds, which look brown, but in actual fact they're classed as green stuff full of nitrogen. Right, ta-da. And for the finale, I'm going to put on some human urine. Some people will turn their nose up at this, but it seems to be really great as an activator. And you call all these nitrogen-based stuff activators. It gets all the microbes activated again. So, look at that. Oh, lovely. Now, this might be quite obnoxious to humans, but it's paradise. It's paradise for microbes. Ta-da! And now, I'll cover the whole thing up again to keep the heat in. Now the heat will regenerate in that, and you should have compost in about 6 or 7 months time, maybe about January, February. It should look something like this. Now, these videos were made for beginners, people who haven't tried growing their own vegetables before. And I've tried to present the knowledge and advice that I've got as simply as possible, so that you can see how easy it is to grow your own vegetables. There's nothing difficult about it. So I hope that you found this valuable, and you will continue to grow your own vegetables. And if you're successful, then you can pass on your knowledge and experience to your wains, because they're going to be living in a very different world for us, where growing our own food might be a lot more important than it is for us now. So, thank you.